You know, the tricky thing about happiness is that there are so many wonderful benefits to being happy, and yet there's so much marketing that's going on about happiness that it can make it seem sometimes a bit superficial. Just for instance, if you go to the supermarket, these days you'll see so many things with the name happy pet foods, happy shampoos, we have happy lattes, happy meals, and so forth. So it can make it all seem a bit trivial and very much tied to consumption. Well, in fact, positive psychology is something that is a well-established field now with really important information that is important for our own health and well-being. For example, some of the things that we've learned, these are just a few highlights, are that happy people tend to live longer. They tend to recover from surgery more quickly. They tend to seek out and act on health information. There's been a study that has shown that people with positive emotions also tend to have lower risk of cardiovascular disease. So there's lots of things like that that are bringing that connection between happiness, well-being, and health. There are some that are also showing that people who are connected to nature, for example, have more positive emotions as well. Well, Martin Seligman, who, as I mentioned, is the father, sometimes called the father of positive psychology, published a book in 2002 called Authentic Happiness. And so the entire book, as you would guess, was about happiness. But these days, he tends not to use the word happiness. He tends to talk more about well-being and what contributes to people flourishing. One of the reasons he's given for that is he thinks that people maybe associate happiness with being buoyant or maybe being a bit superficial, whereas he sees the word well-being as something that's more substantial. I have a bit of a different opinion. When I've talked to people about happiness, they don't only associate it with those things, they also associate it with contentment, relaxation, a life satisfaction, and so forth. Well, think back to that activity that we did where I asked you to think about one of your happiest or most enjoyable moments. When I've done that with people countless of times over the years, they don't really just think about those lighthearted moments. They actually think more about those feelings of contentment, relationships, and so forth. So as we've been learning, though, through positive psychology, the kinds of things that really do make us authentically happy, that really contribute to that experience of being contented, are healthy relationships, feeling engaged with our work, with our community, having a sense of purpose, and so forth. Those kinds of things really matter. And you'll notice that none of that has to do with accumulating more stuff, with having more happy this or more happy that. It's really about the things that matter in life, the things that you already know matter in life, those relationships, appreciating what we already have. And we know that now from happy people tend to not be the ones who are caught up in a culture of complaint or constantly thinking that they need more stuff, or as Brene Brown talks about, getting caught up in thinking they're not good enough, not beautiful enough, that they don't have enough. They tend to be the people who do appreciate the wonderful things in their life, meaning those relationships, that they have meaningful work, that they have their health, and those kinds of things. And so we'll continue to talk about that throughout this course and how we can enhance our own happiness and well-being.